Trash bags don't talk. But if they did, they'd probably have said, "You don't belong here." That's exactly what the mob boss told him too, jabbing a finger at Jason Statham as he sat against a wall, garbage bags piled high beside him. His jacket was torn, his face smudged, his body tossed into the alley like yesterday's leftovers. The men laughed. They thought the fight was over. They thought Jason Statham had finally been put where he belonged, on the curb, waiting for the trash truck. But here's the thing about garbage: sometimes it gets recycled. And Jason, he wasn't done yet. If you've got a few minutes, I'll tell you how being tossed out with the trash turned into the most dangerous mistake these men ever made. The door slammed shut, a heavy metal echo rolling down the alley, followed by the distinct clunk of a bolt being thrown. For a few seconds, Jason didn't move. He sat still among the trash bags, breathing slow, cataloging the pain in his ribs, the sting on his cheek where the mobster's ring had cut into his skin. He looked like a broken man left to rot. That's what they wanted him to look like. His eyes flicked across the alley, scanning. He never wasted those quiet seconds. South wall, red brick, crumbling mortar. North wall, bare cinder block. A broken CCTV camera above a crooked sign, the kind that screams authority but really means nothing. Beside him, trash bags tied sloppy except one. A thick black contractor bag tied carefully, with deliberate loops and cinches. That knot told him something. Nobody spends time tying garbage unless what's inside isn't garbage. Jason shifted forward. His ribs barked in protest, but he ignored them. He dragged the heavy bag closer with one arm, testing its weight, not the sagging slosh of kitchen scraps. No, this was solid, flat weight. He pressed with his thumb and felt corners, papers, maybe files. His lips twitched into a humorless smile. "Idiots," he muttered under his breath. He picked at the knot with a broken plastic zip tie from his pocket, working it loose. Inside, he found stacks of papers, vacuum-sealed plastic sleeves stuffed with ledgers, copies of casino chip logs, Polaroids with names and numbers scrawled in marker. It was all there, the skeleton of Roman De Luca's empire, hidden in plain sight, waiting to be crushed and forgotten with the trash. Jason resealed the bag and set it back down. His mind was already working, gears turning. The boss thought Jason was finished, beaten, irrelevant. He thought wrong. The faint hum of music and laughter seeped through the back door of the nightclub. Roman De Luca was inside, pouring champagne and toasting his own brilliance, while Jason was outside, sitting on the evidence that could bring his empire down. Jason leaned back against the wall, closing his eyes for a moment. He pictured Roman's smug face when he'd said those words. "That's where you belong, with the rest of the rubbish." Jason breathed out slow. Men like Roman always underestimated men like him. They looked at the suit, the scars, the grit, and thought they were looking at trash. But Jason had built a career out of being underestimated. The alley light buzzed overhead, flickering. Jason opened his eyes and caught movement. The service door cracked open just an inch, a sliver of light spilling out. A woman's voice whispered, "You still alive?" Jason tilted his head. Maya, one of the bartenders. Sharp eyes, sharp wit, too smart to be working in a place like this. She slipped outside, clutching a parka over her black dress. Her knuckles were split, probably from breaking up a fight earlier. She crouched next to him. "They said you crawled off already," she whispered. "Roman made a toast, called you last week's garbage." Jason smirked, though it stung. "I've been called worse." Her gaze darted to the contractor bag. "You found something." "Found enough," Jason replied. He tapped the bag. Roman's secrets, all tied up neat. Maya frowned. "You're not walking away, are you?" Jason looked at her, his face calm but eyes burning. "They think I'm done. That's the mistake." She reached into her pocket and pulled out a ring of keys, metal clinking softly. She pressed them into his palm. "I didn't give you these, understand?" Jason nodded. "Never saw you." The door shut behind her and Jason was alone again. Alone but not beat. Minutes passed. Then headlights glared at the mouth of the alley. A sanitation truck crawled in, brakes hissing. Jason watched as two men hopped out, not city workers. Their hands were too soft, their boots too clean. Roman's men disguised as trash collectors. One barked at Jason, "Move the bags." Jason didn't move. "I said move, M." The thug grabbed Jason's sweatshirt. Jason let him, for 1 second. Then his hand shot up, twisting the thug's wrist, rolling the elbow until the man collapsed to his knees with a strangled groan. Jason set him down carefully, almost politely, and turned to the second man. "Open the truck," Jason ordered. The driver hesitated, but Jason's stare carved the hesitation out of him. The back of the truck groaned open, the compactor waiting like hungry jaws. Jason dragged the contractor bag to the lip of the truck. He pulled a marker from his pocket, scrawled 3 words in bold across the plastic. "Return to sender." He set the bag on the edge, not inside, letting it hang there like a dare. "You're going to drive this where you usually take it," Jason told the driver. "You're going to tell Benny the job's done, and you're not going to mention me, because if you do," Jason's voice dropped cold, "I'll be the one bag you can't get rid of." The driver nodded frantically. "Why, yeah, sure, got it." Jason stepped back, fading into the shadows. He let the truck crawl away, taillights glowing red, carrying Roman's secrets straight back to him. Jason cracked his knuckles and turned to the service door. He wasn't finished, not by a long shot. Inside the club, the kitchen was chaos, clattering pans, shouted orders, steam hissing. Jason walked through it with the posture of a man who belonged, invisible in his certainty. He found the service elevator and rode it up to the admin floor. The hallway was silent, carpet dull and lifeless. He used Maya's key to unlock the counting room. Inside, 2 tables, a broken camera, a safe shoved behind a poster about teamwork. Jason chuckled at the irony. He cracked the safe, scooped up ledgers, and pocketed a flash drive shaped like a gold bullet. Voices, heavy footsteps outside. The twins, Roman's enforcers. Jason slipped into the elevator just as the door handle rattled. The last thing he saw was that ridiculous teamwork poster. He rode down, stepping into a storage room stacked with sacks of flour. From there, he made his way to the alley door. Through the crack, he saw Roman himself now, cigar glowing, flanked by his men. The boss had come out to gloat, to watch the trash truck take Jason's body to wherever forgotten men go. Jason smiled to himself. They had no idea. He pressed the keys in his palm, his heartbeat steady. The night wasn't over, not even close. Roman DeLuca stood outside the club, cigar smoke curling into the cold night air. He wore that smug grin Jason knew too well, the grin of a man who thought the game was already won. Around him, bodyguards laughed, the sound carrying over the hiss of the idling trash truck at the end of the block. "Out with the rubbish," Roman chuckled, flicking ash onto the pavement. "That's all he was." The men laughed harder. Jason listened from the shadows of the storage room, watching through the cracked door. His face was stone, but his blood burned steady, a furnace of patience and calculation. He could storm out now, snap necks and silence the laughter, but no, that would be too easy. Roman didn't just need to lose. Roman needed to choke on his own arrogance. Jason waited. The trash truck lumbered away. Roman's men cheered as though watching a funeral procession. Jason heard Roman say it clear as day. Some men are kings, some men are trash. He chose his place. Jason smiled coldly. "No, mate, you chose mine, and you chose wrong." Back inside, Jason slipped down the service corridor, the flash drive burning a hole in his pocket. That little gold bullet held everything: bank accounts, casino launders, offshore shell companies. Enough evidence to put Roman in a cage for the rest of his life. But Jason knew men like Roman didn't go quietly. Evidence only mattered if Roman lived long enough to stand trial, and Jason wasn't sure that was going to happen. He ducked into the stairwell, listening. Upstairs, the bass thumped, club music deafening to the drunk and the careless. Downstairs, whispers and footsteps, the weight of Roman's empire moving beneath the surface. Jason descended, boots silent, hands loose at his sides. He wasn't thinking about evidence anymore. He was thinking about garbage, how people treated it, how people underestimated what was inside, and how, when it's ignored too long, it starts to rot and take everything else down with it. That was Roman, and Jason was the rot he hadn't accounted for. The basement was half storage, half dungeon. Concrete walls, a steel table with cuffs welded into it, crates stacked high with bottles of liquor that never made it onto the official invoices, and in the middle 2 guards bored playing cards. Jason stepped out of the shadows. "Deal me in." They looked up, eyes wide. One guard reached for his pistol. Jason's hand was faster. He slammed the man's wrist against the table, forcing him to drop the gun, then flipped the cards into the other guard's face. In the split second of confusion, Jason spun the first guard into the second, knocking them both down like bowling pins. Jason crouched calm. Tell Roman his trash just walked back in. Neither answered. They were out cold. Jason pocketed the pistol and kept moving. Upstairs, Roman was toasting again, his glass raised high. To garbage day, out with the old and with the new. The crowd roared, drunks clinking glasses. Roman basked in it, arms wide like a king. And that's when the lights flickered, once, twice, then cut out entirely. Gasps, shouts, the club went black. In the silence, Jason's voice carried clear, cold, precise. You should have tied the bags tighter. The crowd froze. The lights snapped back on. And there he was, Jason Statham, standing on the balcony above, pistol loose in one hand, flash drive dangling from the other. Roman's face drained of color. Impossible. Jason smirked. Funny thing about garbage, Roman, sometimes it comes back. The room erupted. Guards shoved through the crowd, guns raised, but Jason moved first. He vaulted the balcony, landing hard on the bar, scattering bottles like shrapnel. He dropped 2 guards with clean shots before rolling behind the counter, glass shattering above him. Chaos, screams. The DJ dove under his booth. Roman barked orders, his voice cracking through the chaos. Get him, he's nothing. Jason popped up, firing twice more, then ducked as bullets tore into the liquor shelves. Flames sparked where vodka spilled and caught fire, licking up the wall. The crowd surged for the exits. Jason moved with them, slipping through bodies, using the panic as cover. He shoved a table into 2 guards, slammed a chair across another's back, then broke through into the center of the floor. And there was Roman, face red, cigar still clenched in his teeth, pointing like he had in the alley. That's where you belong, Roman screamed, on the floor with the rest of the trash. Jason spat blood, grinned, and dropped the pistol. Then let's take this outside. The fight spilled into the alley, neon light from the club flickering across the brick walls. Roman's men circled, 4 of them, heavy hitters with brass knuckles and bats. Jason rolled his shoulders, cracked his neck, and waited. The first came in wild with a swing. Jason ducked, drove a fist into his ribs, then grabbed the bat and spun it into the man's jaw. The second lunged. Jason kicked his knee sideways, folding him like a chair. The third and fourth hesitated, glancing at Roman, who barked, "Finish him." They rushed together. Jason caught one, used him as a shield, and hurled him into the wall. The last man swung blind. Jason sidestepped and let him crash headfirst into the garbage pile. Jason stood tall, chest heaving, eyes locked on Roman. Roman stepped back, suddenly smaller without his army. His cigar trembled in his hand. Jason walked forward slowly, picking up the contractor bag he'd left earlier. He tossed it at Roman's feet. The bag split open, papers spilling across the filthy ground. Ledgers, photos, names. Roman's empire in tatters, right there in the trash. You built your world on this, Jason said, voice low. And you thought I was garbage, but you forgot one thing. Roman stammered, what? Jason stepped closer, fists clenched. Trash always comes back. He grabbed Roman by the collar, slammed him against the wall, and whispered, and tonight, it's taking you with it. The sound of sirens grew louder, blue and red lights flashing at the end of the street. Someone in the club must have called the cops. Roman twisted, panic in his eyes. They'll believe me, he gasped. You're nothing but trash thrown out, forgotten. Jason shoved him against the wall again, hard enough to rattle his teeth. No, they'll believe the files. They'll believe the numbers. And they'll believe when they see you dragged out with the rest of your rubbish. Roman tried one last swing, clumsy and desperate. Jason dodged, let him stumble, then drove a single punch into his gut that folded him like wet cardboard. Roman crumpled to the ground, wheezing, face pressed into his own spilled secrets. The cops poured into the alley, guns raised, shouting commands. Jason lifted his hands, calm. On your knees, an officer barked. Jason smirked. Not me, him. He pointed at Roman, broken on the ground. The officers hesitated, then saw the files, the evidence scattered everywhere. Recognition dawned. 2 of them dragged Roman up, cuffing him as he screamed protests. Jason stepped back, blending into the shadows. When the cops looked up again, he was gone. Hours later, Roman DeLuca sat in the back of a police van, screaming that it wasn't fair, that he was the king, that Jason Statham was nothing but trash. But nobody listened. And Jason, he walked alone through the city streets, the night air cool against his battered face. He lit another cigarette, took a drag, and let the smoke curl upward. "Trash," he muttered with a smirk. "Guess it's all about recycling." And with that, he vanished into the dark.